شر الوسواس خرناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Come forward, boys, please. Everyone, come forward. الطيبين الطاهرين. One of the important things that we pick up on as far as our maturing and growing as human beings is the experience that we go through. And sometimes the experience that we go through comes from ourselves. Sometimes it comes as a result of sharing information from somebody else. And of course, throughout the span of your life, you're always going to be hearing stories here and there, especially from those who care and love you, what kind of direction you need to have in life. There's absolutely no person other than the ma'soomeen who are able to confidently say that they're free of mistake, or who can confidently say that the choice, the decisions that they have made are absolutely accurate and free of any kind of error. Also, whether we like it or not, we are going to be making independent choices that we might later on regret in our lives. But that's all a part of maturing and growing and developing. And we shouldn't in any way think bad or negative about some kind of choice that we made that was based on good, positive kind of outlook that later on we come to realize at the time it should not have been the decision that I made. The only time that I am going to really regret what I have done is if I go against what we commonly see other people doing to those who they love and respect, and that is advice. In today's society, where everything is about independence, everything is about you being, alaykum salam, Sayyid, everything is about you being your own person, everything is about your privacy. One of the things that we tend to build is a bridge around ourselves where we come to assume that things that are being said around us are some kind of interference in our personal private life. And therefore, we are not very welcoming in general. We are not very welcoming to advice. And you can see individualism, alaykum salam, and you can see individualism today in today's society as well. Everyone has, their own bank account. Everyone has their own passwords. Everyone has their own bedroom. Everyone has their own car. Everyone has their own way of thinking. And therefore, even when it comes to their own family members, right, let alone anyone else, who are you to tell me what to do? You're not my father. And yaret, this particular person would listen to the advice given to them by their father. This is, of course, why it's so important for us, especially as Muslims, to understand the importance of nasiha and advice. The interesting thing is that with the word nasiha, if you look at the root meaning of the word nasiha, it very much complements the reason as to why in Arabic advice and counseling and recommending and well-wishing is called nasiha. One meaning for nasaha is when the khayyat, the tailor, is for example, sewing a piece of clothing, right? They make sure that there's no cuts. They make sure that it is absolutely perfect when it comes to what it is that they are tailoring and sewing. And they call that nasih. Another meaning for nasiha, the root word for the root Arabic word for this term is when you remove the wax from the honey wax from the honey. Yani, the end result is going to be you having pure honey. Now, this means clearly that there's a process happening where you are sifting through the bad things and leaving an end result being that which is good. Which is exactly why in the Quranic usage and in some ahadith from Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, when the word nasiha is used, it means I wish well for you. I want the best for you. I am giving you sincere consultation and advice. No one asked for your opinion. No one asked for your consultation. I can do whatever it is that I want to do. And there are people like that around us. And I'm sure we all know someone who does not accept nasiha at all. We know people around us who are so stubborn that they have no place for them to accept recommendation and advice given to them. And look at people usually around us, and you'll be able to see that very, very clearly, whether it be in their life choices, whether it be in their work, whether it be in their studies, their degree, their marriage, their individual life. They are so one-minded that they have no place for listening to advice. And you even come up with the conclusion that it is very similar to talking to a brick, wall. Of course, this is against and opposite to what it is that we want in our lives, because every human being somehow wants to remove those flaws that they have in themselves, the naqs that you might have. You want to make sure that there are no issues, no blemishes, no faults, no problems, no obstacles in your personal life. And that's why nasiha is really, really useful and important. You also want to make sure, we spoke about perfection and perfecting yourself in our last session as well. You also want to make sure that you're perfecting yourself, removing those obstacles. And that's exactly why when you sit down and listen, this was a custom during the time of A'immatu Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, where someone would come to one of the imams and would say, give me advice, give me guidance, give me some words of wisdom. And then the imam would say, well, I advise you, usika, I want to point out some certain points, mathalan, right? And mentions them for this particular person. And not only are they listening to the advice, but it's also being conveyed to other people. When I advise you to say to you, for example, make sure that you don't get distracted while you are studying, and don't think about work more than you think about your degree and your studies. That useful advice is applicable to you and also applicable to those who are around you that are on the same level, which means that you can also share that advice with other people. Why are you becoming so self-opinionated? Why are you becoming so self-opinionated that the only thing that you think to be of value and importance is your opinion? What level of ego and ghurur do you have that you think that your ideas are superior to everyone else? That is self-destructive. And that's exactly what Imam Ali alayhi salam says, where he mentions that if you become so self-opinionated, you are going to perish. Man istabadda, istibdad is a kind of self-tyranny. Man istabadda, whoever becomes so self-opinionated, halak, you will perish. Where's Ali? Where's Ibrahim and Ali? قاعدين بالمطبخ? Where's Ali, lad? Who's behind there that I can't see next to you? Murtada behind you. All right. Make sure that I can see your face. Keep your eagle eyes on. Istibdad bil ra'i is becoming self-opinionated. And by the way, istibdad also means tyrannical. Yani you think too much about yourself. Here, Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, he says, aren't these illegal? Yeah. Here, so I'm going to use the legal one, lad. Here, can't even use that. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, Man shawara nas شاركهم في عقولهم. When you're seeking advice from someone else, you are becoming partners with them in their aql. Instead of having one aql, you're going to have 5 or 10. Why? Because you are seeking consultation and advice from other people about things that you need to know, that will affect you, affect your future and your life. Why is it so many times a person, for example, chooses a certain lifestyle or chooses a certain occupation, goes against the advice of, for example, their parents or their someone, their teacher, someone that they highly respect, and that person is getting nothing out of it. Yani he's not getting paid to advise you and say, Yaba, mathalan, don't become a constructor. It's better off that you become a chiropractor, physiotherapist, right? So you can have placebo, medicinal, and then you go against the advice, even though you know that that's to your advantage. There's no need for that. There's no need for you to be proving yourself through feeding your ego that you are going to somehow accomplish something by going against the advice that is given to you. And should you listen to advice, later on you're not going to regret the choice that you've made, because you will say, Alhamdulillah, at least I was listening to my elders, to my parent, to my teacher, to this person, and made sure that I was making the right decision at the right time. Whereas if you become, as we said, self-opinionated and have no concern or care about correct, right direction given to you, then when you come to realize that you made the wrong decision, it's going to be way too late and the damage would have been done. And that's really bad, which is exactly why the main point here is that in our society today, people really think about individualization. People don't think collectively. And that's how Western society and modern society is based on. That you can independently make your own choice in areas like your work, not taking into consideration deen and religion and ethical values, and even in the case of marriage as well, where marriage in Western or in modern society is an individual choice. It's not a collective choice. It's not a family choice. And that's why, unfortunately, a lot of young Muslim brothers and sisters become self-opinionated in the matter of marriage, and their parents are probably the last to know when it comes to them probably having communicated or being involved with another person. What about you being flexible, or you taking advice, or you listening to what is going to be good or positive for you? These are all really, really important. No one likes a stubborn person. But are you stubborn? Do you have traits of stubbornness? Do you think that by being stubborn, you're somehow proving your shakhsiyya and your personality? Do you think by being stubborn, you are going to eliminate that ego that you might be building and the arrogance that you might have? We have to be really, really, really careful. And look what Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam says, "Man a'jaba ma a'jaba bi ra'yih illa jahil." The only person that is so, impressed by their own opinions is a jahil, an ignorant person, because they become so self-centered, so self-absorbed that they think that it's only them that knows what's best for them. You think that you know what's best for you and no one else knows. No one else has been in your situation and your circumstance. No one else understands you, right? Only you understand yourself. No one else feels what you're going through, and this builds and builds and builds, and it becomes a part of your shakhsiyya. What about being humble? What about remembering that you need to seek consultation and advice so as to never fall into big mistakes that the damage could be irreversible, that you can't get away from? That's why the topic of nasiha is a really serious topic, and it's something that unfortunately a lot of us struggle in accepting or in looking for. Here we're talking about two different things. We're talking about you accepting nasiha. We're also talking about you pursuing nasiha, you asking for nasiha, you communicating with someone, your parents, your uncle, your auntie, your elder, someone who is wise, someone who is pious, someone who is religious, someone who has good experience, your local Sheikh Zaid, who will be neutral, will give you advice based on what they think is best for you. And in 90% of the time, maybe even more than 90% of the time, nasiha is free of charge. It's free of charge. But why does it become so difficult for someone to listen? That's why, of course, there are different ways of how we are able, to approach this issue of nasiha. How are you expressing that nasiha that you are giving to someone? Remember when we spoke about amr bil ma'ruf wa nahi 'anil munkar? No one likes a pushy person. No one likes someone who starts off the nasiha by insulting the other person. No one likes nasiha that isn't applicable to you. No one likes nasiha coming from someone who doesn't even practice it himself. But there's an important point in this last example here, that might not necessarily be the case. You might have, what did we say about last week and vaping and snorting? What was it? Huh? What'd you say, Hussein? What? Aren't you a bit too young to be knowing about these things? Or sorry? You already know about cocaine? Huh? I'm going to have a little long talk with your father, by the way. So What's happening? You're talking about something being better than that? Or where's your brother, by the way, Sajjad? Huh? Someone who, for example, is a drug dealer or a drug addict, they give you nasiha and they say to you, Yaba, stay away from it. You accept it. You can't say, oh, you're a hypocrite. Why am I going to stay away from it if you're using it yourself? That makes absolutely no sense. Right? That's why they say there are a hadith that say, خُذُوا الْحِكْمَةِ alaykum salam. خُذُوا الْحِكْمَةِ وَلَوْ مِنْ أَفْوَاهِ الْمَجَانِينَ. Take wisdom even if it comes from an insane person. What do we call an insane person? What do we say? Yeah. Now Majnoon is a bit lighter. Or خُذُوا الْحِكْمَةِ وَلَوْ مِنْ الْمُنَافِقِ. Even if the person's a hypocrite, but they're saying something wise to you, you should take it. Right? Advice, of course, has many kind of like good things that need to be observed. But if there is a case that someone is giving you advice and you know that they aren't implementing it, they aren't practicing it themselves, but you know it's to your advantage and your benefit, you should be taking it. And that's why it's all about being positive. It's all about being encouraging. It's all about wanting to motivate the person for change. Not to say, oh yeah, you can't stay in medical science because you're dumb. Why is everyone laughing at Rida? Positive, encouraging, empowering, they are really, really important things when it comes to you giving nasiha. And don't think that nasiha is only from older people to younger people. No. Break your ego. Even if it is someone younger than you but giving you proper advice, right? Do it. Especially if you know that they know better than you in certain areas. Don't use this kind of wood when you're making a beam. Use different kind of wood. Ali says, no, I want to use Tasmanian fiberglass wood. Yeah, but Ali, no, that's not how it is. No, khalas. Qafal. Ali. And that's why they say, when it comes to experience, it really is a very, very valuable treasure when it comes to experience. Someone's giving you advice, take it, accept it. The problem that we have is things that are free of charge, we don't value. It's only when you have to pay $400 an hour to see a psychologist, right? That's when you're really going to be valuing the information and the advice and the recommendation that is given. Privately, sometimes it's important to address something, giving advice, talk to them privately, not publicly. You don't want to shame someone. You don't want to expose someone. You don't want to humiliate someone when you are giving them advice. But sometimes advice in public is also good because you know that that person is influencing people around them. So you put them in their place, right? So others also can take heed to what it is that you're saying. But again, in the positive way, not in the degrading kind of way. And of course, we should not be looking for faults in other people. Why is it that there are some people who don't take advice? Some people don't take advice because they think that it is a negative thing, that you're interfering in their life, that it means that, oh, well, I've got lack of knowledge. I'm not going to ask someone about what direction I should take. I should be relying on myself. That's a very wrong mentality, right? Or, yeah, he's going to know about my private affairs. That's a very wrong mentality. You need consultation in a lot of things, if not in everything in your life, especially when it comes to you making sure that you have the right direction in where it is that you are going. Most importantly, it is highly, highly recommended, an act of ibadah, an act of devotion. It is highly recommended in Islam for a person to seek advice. Mr. Journalist, start reading. Good. Good. I just copy pasted this from the internet, by the way, but I think this was something good. What's, advice? You want to give someone advice, right? It could be a lot of things. What kind of a ma'affin hairstyle is that? That's one way of saying it, right? Another way of saying it is, ya ba inta, mashallah alayk, you come from a good family, you are a mu'min, you're a pious person, you're this and you're that. It's not munasib, it doesn't suit you to have a, for example, a mullet, or this or that. Why is everyone picking on my cousin? Huh? Show me your haircut, Rida. Advice. It could be something personal as well. Yeah, but look, it's been 3 months that you haven't visited your uncle, your auntie. It's very important for you to do so. It could be to do with your career choice. By the way, this field of interest that you have, there's going to be a lot of shari'i complications with it. So maybe you should rethink that direction that you're going. It could be a matter of salah. Why are you doing something else when it's prayer time instead of you focusing on your prayer? It could be religion related, it could be money related, it could be personal related, whatever it is. But anything that is said to you by anyone that benefits you, then do it. Don't flip the argument and say, oh yeah, but look at your hairstyle. Oh yeah, but why are we not allowed to do this, but boys are allowed to do that? Why do I have to, sometimes some girls say, oh, why do we have to be home by 6 p.m. but my brother can get home by 2 a.m. or these kind of things. You worry about yourself. Don't worry about, of course, I'm very against that kind of mentality, and people should be more strict on boys than they are on girls. But this is the very backward kind of culture that some people have, unfortunately. But if it's advice directed at you and you know shar'an that it is benefiting you, then take it. But don't just listen, implement it. Some people, they feel really, really down and bad when they're given advice, but they do absolutely nothing about it. They go back exactly to their same ways 2 days later or 3 days later. So the best advice that anyone can get is always remember to be God-centric. God-centricity means that the mihwar, the focus, the axle of your life rotates all of it around God. God is right there in front of you in every single choice that you make, every single thing that you do. Another thing is when it comes to money. How many times have we spoken about consumerism and about how miserable some people are where they work for 6 months so they can buy a bag? Or where they have no kind of financial control. Ali, Gum, Ali, please look at them. Look at them. It's Dajun, Mayahi, Jaburi, Kahi. Yeah, and it's not the young ones. Look at Jojo, look how nice he is today, and look at those older boys at the back. Yeah. All right, Ibrahim Ije, alhamdulillah. Thank you, we've got backup. Next step is we're going to call Hajj. Hajj is also sitting there, but it's our last resort. Ibrahim, go to Bnosom, please. Good. Hajj and Hizam. All right. What was I saying? Huh? Buying what kind of bag was it? Hermes? Jimmy Choo. Normal bag. What kind of normal bag? Like a Target bag? All right. People eating out every second night. Where was that place? What was it? Granville, what did you say last week? YG. I had chubby buns last night, by the way. It was all right. People not caring about financial responsibility. That's really, really bad. That's really bad. We have to be more responsible and listen to advice. Listen to financial advice given to us. And alhamdulillah, Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have given us a lot of financial advice. Family first when it comes to advice, especially from your family members who know you better than anyone else, as long as it's right, as long as it's good, as long as it's shari'i. And of course, another really, really important advice that all of us need to remember is always avoid dhulm, wronging someone. Sometimes you wrong someone by having bad assumptions about them. You haven't even met the guy, you haven't even met the person, the girl, you haven't even met them, but you have built up some kind of really negative image of them. Oh yeah, look at them, you know, Shaif Ruha, he's too up himself, he's a selfish khudkhah person, he's this, he's that, she's this, she's that. No, that's dhulm, by the way. This is the kind of advice that we always need to use, listening to ourselves and also listening to others. But always remember to be sincere. Always do it qurbatan ilallahi ta'ala, and also for the sake of that other person, wanting the best for that other person. Try to make sure that you practice it yourself. That's also really important, so you don't become a hypocrite And don't force your opinions on someone else. Yeah, but I'm telling you, this is how it should be, next time you cook the kebab, start with the onions first. All right. The person doesn't want to start with the onions. The person wants to start with something, the capsicum, whatever. Don't force your opinions. Give the advice, and that's it. The person accepts it, the person takes it, that's going to be completely up to them. But never shame, never reject, never be aggressive, never force, and also never use or choose the wrong time to give advice. You need to make sure that you choose the right time to give advice. If someone's really, really, really angry or very upset, nothing's going to sink into their damagh. Nothing is going to sink into their brain. So you wait for the right time in order for you to be more effective in what it is that you are saying to them. Imam Ali alayhi salam, look at what he says. لِيَكُنْ أَحَبُّ النَّاسِ إِلَيْكُمْ الْمُشْفِقْ النَّاصِحِ. The person that you have to love the most is someone who advises you, someone who wants to keep you on the right track. And that's why these programs that we have, للأسف الشديد, I'm announcing it here, especially to those who are watching us online, that we've got a really good attendance on the boys' side, but I don't know what's happening on the girls' side. All these girls, where are they? Until last year, we used to have more girls than boys. Now we have more boys than girls. These kind of programs that we have are programs of nasiha and advice as well, wa'adh and irshad and guidance and counseling, and you building, networking, building relationships with fellow believers. That's a really important thing, right? And that's the kind of person that you should love and respect. Someone giving you nasiha, balash, muftu majani, free of charge. You should be accepting it. Of course, the obstacle is going to be your arrogance, your ghurur, that you think you're all that, but you are most certainly not. Thank you. Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam have said, Ali, come closer. Mentally? All right. يغش لا يضل. This is Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahj al-Balagha. He says, وَاتَّعِظُوا, take advice, take heed, listen to advice, especially if it comes from God. And it is this Quran that is al-Nasih, الَّذِي لَا يَغُشْ. It's never going to deceive you. The Quran is never going to deceive you. وَالْهَادِي الَّذِي لَا يَضِلْ. And it is always going to guide you. Quran will never misguide you. This is the beauty of Al-Quran Al-Kareem and taking nasiha from it. وَاسْتَنصِحُوهُ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Yani use the Quran to advise you. That's why they say, if you want God to talk to you, read the Quran. If you want to talk to God, get up and pray. When you read the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to you, is communicating with you. وَاسْتَنصِحُوا. اسْتَنصِحُوا يعني seek nasiha from the Quran على أنفسكم, over yourself. Sit down, انت. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he also says, طوبى لمن أطاع ناصحا. How blissful, how lucky it is for a person who takes the advice and obeys the person that is giving them advice. يهديه, who is of course guiding them. وتجنب غاويا يرديه, and avoids, stays away from someone who's misguiding them, which is of course going to lead them to destruction. من خالف النصح هلك. If you oppose advice, you will perish. أشفق الناس عليك, the most loving and caring of people towards you, أعونهم لك على صلاح نفسك, is someone who is trying to assist you in reforming and fixing yourself and adjusting yourself. وأنصحهم لك في دينك, and giving you, always trying to give you advice in affairs of your religion. Last hadith from Imam Ali alayhi salam, and there's many of them. What was that for? And there's many of them. Look it up yourself. A hadith of nasiha and advice in the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Mararatun nusх, the bitterness of advice. Sometimes advice is bitter. Sometimes advice hurts you. Mararatun nusх, the bitterness of advice. Anfa'u min halawatil ghish, is more useful and more beneficial than the sweetness of deception. I would rather go through the bitterness of advice, even though it's upsetting me and hurting me, rather than, feeling all good about myself, but in reality, I am being sweet-talked and deceived. That's why nasiha is really, really important for us to, number one, listen to, number two, seek, and number three, share with others as well. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi tahirin.